Hello, everybody. How are you today? Yesterday, John T. Lingo posted a lovely video saying how to say hello in Adigabza. I'm gonna give it a shot. So, Daoushit. Blaga, everybody, welcome. I have an interview today with the lovely Neda Habasha. I'm so excited to talk to her. She is a mother. She is a lifelong New Jersey Circassian community member, born and raised, to quote her. And she's also an entrepreneur. So I'm very much looking forward to talking to her and hearing, her story on basically, her business, what it's like to be a mom. Of course, the Circassian, the cultural element there. So excited to talk to her in regards to that. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're having like a beautiful weekend morning. Waiting for her to sign on. Thank you so much to everybody who's already joined me. So these interviews they give me so much joy because, in terms of historical stereotypes that, have permeated time and location, I feel like it's so important for real ethnic Caucasian people to hop on here and talk about culture and maybe possibly generational diaspora. Most of my guests have been a part of the diaspora community to some extent. I've only had a couple that are first generation out of the Caucasus, which is also so cool to hear and listen to. So it's just a matter of getting our voices out there and us telling our stories. And what's amazing is that every guest brings something so special, just depending on their life and their background. So what's funny is that when I have people come, I'll ask people to come on and let's see if she joined. Oh, thank you so much, Dina. She said green looks nice on me. Green is one of my happy colors. Let me see. Okay. So what was I saying? So yeah, there's just a cultural narrative that, we deserve to have for ourselves. Oh, there she is. Okay, so Neda is on. I'm so thrilled so I'm just gonna bring her on. I don't even remember what I was talking about, so I'm just gonna good morning. I'm just gonna bring her on here. I see Neda here. Accept. Neda. Okay. Hi.
Hi, Ingrid. How
Hey,
are
Mama.
you?
Good morning.
Good
How are
morning. How
you?
are you?
I'm good. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Neda, for joining me today. I'm so excited to just hear what you have in mind and kind of your story and your opinion on things. Um, it's valuable. It's so valuable. So I
Thank you
really
so much.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so
I have like
glad.
a slight cold. I don't know what's going on, so like if my voice goes in and out, sorry about
No,
that.
you're fine. We just got over a cold. So
I
there's
don't
some
feel bad.
definitely.
Like I feel fine. It's just like the sinuses. So,
Oh, you got
I
over.
don't.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
Okay.
as far as just like I'm gonna introduce myself, but Noor, like I know of you only through the community.
Right.
Subhanallah, and like this is the first time that we actually get to talk, so
Right.
I'm excited about this.
Same. Same. You and your sisters are in my experience, because I had left New Jersey and I think you guys either I honestly don't even know, you guys grew up or we just missed each other.
Yeah. Mhm.
But we have,
Yeah.
we're all connected as long as we
Yeah,
have
everyone knows
something.
of everyone too,
Right.
especially like in New Jersey. We're such a small knit community
Right.
that, it's funny because like I have friends who are like Syrian, they don't know who that family is. I'll be like, us as Caucasians, we can say a person's last name and oh, we know who they are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
funny.
Right.
But yeah. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Neda Hapasha. I'm 35 years old. I live in New Jersey. I was born and raised here. But we did some traveling through our life. My dad, Allah yarhamu, he's decided to go fly out to Dubai. So we lived there for a little bit.
Cool.
And then we lived in Amman in Jordan for a little over a year. And then my sister and Nadia and I came back. We stayed at my grandma's for a little bit until my parents and the rest of my family, my two younger sisters, eventually made their way back to New Jersey, and we've been here since.
Awesome.
So I've gotten a little bit of an influence too from Jordan, which was pretty cool to see the Circassians living there. I have two young kids. Their names are Sidine and Mazen, a boy and a girl. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it.
All right.
and I'm an entrepreneur.
There you go. I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. You know, I kind of, I guess you're so sidetracked and busy with life that's kind of, oh my God. So yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I started my own business back in 2016. It's called Maza Boutique. I sell high quality fashion accessories. And for those that they ask like, oh, why Maza? I get a lot of customers, especially like around town. They think that's like an Italian last name, and I love to say the story just to like get the word out. Maza means moon, and I wanted something that would be easy to pronounce in English, and it was also Circassian that represented who I was. And it had a beautiful meaning. I love the moon. I love the moon, the sun, just the universe, you know? So it just all went in hand. And that's pretty much it.
Right. I mean, the moon has been a symbol of feminine beauty since like the beginning of mankind. And, you know, you're selling high quality fashion accessories. I've seen them. They're amazing. Guys, Bella Hadid is one of her clients.
It's crazy. Right? One, like I woke up and my sister and I were like, "Oh my God, that cannot be Bella Hadid."
Oh,
we like did some psycho, like you know, searching and stuff. Like, oh my God, is that her? And the address, and it was her. Yeah, and then she eventually ended up wearing our stuff. But not only her, Billie Eilish has worn our pieces. Justina Valentine, Becky G. You know, it's gotten out there. The power of social media, and I also wanted to incorporate that into our interview today too. It's so crazy how social media has truly, you know, changed everything.
Wow.
You know, for everyone. So,
wow. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So you have not been to the Caucasus, but
no, I have not.
You've lived in Jordan and you've lived in Dubai. So in Jordan, what was the like experience for you as a Circassian person living there?
It was a really great experience, honestly. At the time, in the beginning, like when we moved, I was around 16 years old, and it was just hard to, you know, to just like go into a whole nother world. You're born and raised here and you have your friends and your family. But honestly, I really thank my mother and my father for taking us along that journey, because it really, we just learned so much, you know, just the way that everyone lives there. And even the Shadkas people there, there's so many Shadkas there compared to here. And they're just, it just like, honestly, I was there for over a year and I literally only had Shadkas friends. Like that's just how it was, you know what I mean? We didn't, even though we're in the middle of an Arab world, you know, it was all Shadkas people, and it was so great. It was really cool. Like everyone knew, like not that they knew each other, but just to like bond with people of your own. It's very a nice feeling.
Wow. Because I've never been to Jordan. I don't have like Jordanian family, and like you know, in New Jersey, you know Circassian Jordanians, but like you have to live it, sort of. You have to kind of see it. But since I started this page, I am like blown away at the depth of the Jordanian, Circassian, Caucasian, whatever community. Like sometimes I can't believe like how far they've been able to come. In just so many different ways, like having streets named after like different tribes and schools and organizations and businesses. I'm like, wow, you know, that's really impressive. I hope that for our community here in America, because we have so many resources, you know, we literally have like everything. So it'd be cool to see that kind of proliferation for our community as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, inshallah, you always hope for the best.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so your fields of expertise. Now, you mentioned you're, mashallah, successful entrepreneur, business owner. If there's anything you want to, like, I want to talk about this topic with you so much. So, because, you know, a mom, a woman, Circassian, like from the hood, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you
You
know,
know, it's funny. I never saw like so. I'm the type of personality that kind of just goes with it. And
mm,
I went to college, and I thought, you know, I would do the norm. And props to like the people that go to college and complete their masters. Even like a bachelor's is very hard, but to go all the way through that takes a lot of discipline. And you know, everyone just has their own way of doing things. So for me, college just wasn't it. So I completed my associates and I was working. Um, I worked in the medical billing field for a few years, and then I worked for doctors' offices, but I'm just like, this isn't what I wanted to do with my life.
right.
And so I started a hobby, and I started making handmade chokers. And I really didn't think of anything of it, just as, you know, just a hobby, something to do and to get money out of it as well. And at that time with Instagram, I was able to start posting, and you were able to like get DMs, and you could put your website out and people can click on it and get into your website.
Right.
So that's what happened. It eventually grew, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew. And I had a little storefront. I started in my bedroom, by the way. So I
Oh,
was in my
okay.
bedroom making the handmade chokers. And then I got a little space. It's just like a little office space to make my pieces and sell my stuff to the public.
Okay.
And it was in Little Ferry. It was like a 300 square foot little space. And then that's where it just became more jewelry and more jewelry. And then I moved into this space here in North Helden, and it just, you know, alhamdulillah, it just took off. So,
Wow.
you know, I'm really, really happy with that. And, but it didn't just take off like, you know, like I woke up one day and all of a sudden it came about my, you know, in front of
Allah
me.
is
It
your
was a
point.
lot of hard work. Yeah, it was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
A lot of, you're wearing so many different hats. And, but alhamdulillah, the way that I feel like, you know, it's just the person that I am. I enjoy creating, and I love doing this and seeing something come about out of nothing. You know, I started off with $300 literally, and it became a full running business.
Wow.
And like speaking about this too, I want to also empower other Adiga or people of the Caucasus, honestly, to, you know, follow your dreams. You know, just if you're unsure of what you wanted to do in life and you always had a dream, to pursue that dream. And I'm more than happy to help someone, you know, do that and get there.
Right, because you know it's interesting in the time I've been on social media, which has been like forever now, I
Yeah.
do see young girls with like artistic ambitions, or you know, young men who are just like musically
Yeah.
inclined, or I've seen actually other jewelry, you know,
Yeah.
young people who
Social
love.
media has so much power. That's what I'm saying. It's like you can use it in so many different ways, and it's just amazing. It's amazing what it can do, really. So,
Is
yeah.
what was Instagram your like main platform, or did you
Hmm.
do like the whole like TikToks and the whole thing?
Well, at that time, it was just Instagram.
Right.
So it was just through Instagram, and you had Facebook as well. But like for me, Instagram was just like to be. It was like a almost like a portfolio. You know, you
Right.
keep adding your photos and photos, and people see, and then they end up, you know, liking what they see, and then they make their purchases through that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, this app is more than just scrolling.
Yeah.
Right?
I
You
mean,
can watch.
I've learned. So I mean, I know we're. I don't know. I should probably wait till the next questions because that's kind of falling into that.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, next question is how did you connect with your lineage in the past, and how are you doing so like now as an adult?
Um. I feel the way that I'm connecting is probably not so much. mm, trying to see how this one was a little bit for me. I wanted to kind of get on this in the right, like there's questions that you were asking that I wondered if I was even answering them correctly, but I feel like the way that I'm connecting more so is through my language, honestly. I don't really know how to speak, and I don't understand it. But now that I'm 35 years old, you know, you start thinking differently. And I feel as though I really want to connect more to my culture and to understand it more. I feel like all I know is just the dances, and that we have a different language that's separate from Russian, but it's like tied to their alphabet. Right. And just like a couple of different, like you'll hear stories and things like that, but I really want to connect more so just like directly to the Caucasus. Yeah.
I understand that feeling. I know that feeling very well.
Like the thing is, we're Shadkas that have been unfortunately displaced into Syria, into Jordan, into Turkey, right? And although we've stayed within our community, within those countries, we've also taken on from their cultures, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but it confuses the person. Like after you have kids and then their kids and their kids, right? Because now which again, like I said, it's fine to learn about the other cultures, but you're not really getting directly, you're getting influenced by another culture.
Right.
If
that, no, that makes
so I'm
complete sense.
really thinking about that a lot lately. And I feel like the way to take that first step is language.
Right. And I think that's the everybody kind of agrees on that. I've seen accounts on Instagram that are geared towards Circassians in the Caucasus, trying to explain that even the Circassian in the Caucasus has been kind of Russified, like the grammar. So they're trying to correct little things that people say, because it's like where you put the words in the sentence, it changes the language, you know, over time. So there is like this beautiful effort to just kind of bring people back to the language. Yeah, and now, like you were saying with social media, there are so many resources. It's so cool. And we have in America, you know, John T. and Misha, which I gave a shout out to at the beginning of this live, because yesterday he posted a video explaining how to say hi.
Yeah.
You know?
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I've gone to his classes years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I learned a little, like if I see something, if I was to read something, I would understand it, like how to read it in my head, but to read it fluently, no, I can't. But and it's subhanAllah too. It's like after all of these years, I was thinking about this the other day. I've always tried to get involved in his courses and to learn. Just never have the time, and that's not really an excuse. But now that I have 2 kids, it's so important for me to have them to understand my culture, and it's allowing me to now understand my culture. Right. So it's like now I'm like trying to teach the little words, and I can learn along with them. You know, that's the way I'm seeing it now.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, kids in general will do that to you. In general. So like what, you know, with religion, with culture, with anything, you know, they will be a force to help you like get into it, learn it, relearn it, revisit it. It's such a beautiful dynamic. If you let it be, you know, as long as you're not like, no, I don't want to do this.
That's true.
So cool. Okay. What is something you think is important that people should know about your culture?
That we exist. I feel like that just in general, like, you know, if you were to say something specifically about the culture, I feel like the most important thing is who we are. No one knows who we are unless they're like from a surrounding area from over here, but like the actual world, no one knows, you know, the people of the Caucasus. It's always just Russia. And you know, that's just really what it comes down to.
It's hard to feel like your people are invisible. Like you need to have a whole like speech prepared when you meet someone. Like, where are you from? Okay, do you have a minute?
You really want to. Yeah, you want to. So when they say, "Oh, so you're Russian," it's like I actually want to take those few minutes and tell them, "No, it's not that."
Yeah.
Like some people will just be like, I mean, teach their own, but I really want people to know, no, yeah, we're not that. This is where we come from, and yeah, this is who we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then tying that back to kids, having a sense of identity is so
Mhm.
important.
Mhm.
I was just telling my 7-year-old yesterday, it's important to know who you are. It's important to know the story of your family because
Mhm.
if you don't know, someone is going to try to tell you who you are.
Mhm.
You don't know that you're not, let's say, Russian.
Mhm.
Someone's going to say, so you're Russian? You might be like, yeah, maybe I am. I am,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's it. You carry on and you're like, I guess I'm Russian, like if you don't know.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
yeah.
That's where you
Um,
lose your identity,
right,
literally. Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
right. How do you feel about the history behind the misuse of the word Caucasian? What would you like to tell those who don't know about this subject?
So I actually wanted to take this question to thank you for your platform,
Wait,
because honestly, I've learned so much about who we are through your
I'm
platform.
so glad.
Yeah,
I'm so glad. Thank you.
like Johan, I don't know his
Frederick
last name, but I knew nothing
Blumenbach.
about him. I knew nothing about him until you said that. It's just crazy. But you learn something new every day, so I really, really appreciate that. And that's literally all I wanted to answer to this, because like your entire platform is bringing so much light to the people of the Caucasus, and to me, who was a person who was from there, to myself as well.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it. It was the thing that it was like when the light turned on
Mm-hmm.
for this question, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there are other people online talking about it, which I'm so grateful for. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like I'm the first, but I was like,
Yeah.
who in our community
Mm-hmm.
is talking about this word?
Yeah. No,
You
no, I
know?
can't think of anyone, and it's also the way that I viewed us to be too. So like, this guy thought we were the most beautiful skull, right? Like us,
Right,
like they're our shaped skull, right?
right.
So you had someone you interviewed. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but she was the USSR, the
Yes,
life after USSR.
yes, right.
And I loved her interview because I feel like she's a person who came directly from there and she's giving her input, which was so fascinating. But she mentioned something about like how the Russians perceive the people of the Caucasus, that
Right.
it's not really like that. So
No.
now it was like, wow, that was kind of like a weird eye opener for me too, because it's like, yeah, we are. I thought we were always perceived as people who are the most beautiful, like, we think the best in all of this, and then to hear that we're kind of considered like the ghetto,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
that was pretty interesting information, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. The
So,
the the ethnic racism that Caucasians face,
hmm
is
hmm
not like a joke or a secret.
yeah, and
You know?
I mean, without this platform and you not having this interview with that person or all the rest of the people you're learning that you're interviewing from, that you're learning information from everyone, but you see like how that just taught me something about my own culture and the way that, we view ourselves. So,
Which is so important.
yeah.
Again, going back to like identity. Um,
Hmm.
oh, there's so much to say on this subject, but thank you so much for your response. The intention is good.
Yeah. No, I definitely, yeah, I see that.
Thank you so much, Nida.
Yeah.
How is your culture maintained even with all the changes that have occurred in the world? So in this question, I'm talking about just like modern living. I feel like the world, because of globalization and the internet and everything, there's a lot of like homogenous cultural things that we're sharing with people all over because it's so easy to see what people are doing, like South Korean beauty, and then the fashion on this side, and what people are doing here and what people are doing there. But like, how are you maintaining your identity, in spite of all of that?
So I think think the way that I'm doing that is, for instance, my business, by naming it Maza, I'm trying to let the world understand, more about who I am. Trying to learn my language, again, going back to that. Understanding more about the culture through people that are directly from the Caucasus. And just passing that down to my children.
Right. There you go. That's the sauce right there. That's the secret.
I mean, I think that's all it is, because culture is, understanding your beliefs and practicing, I guess, more so. Like, I guess they all practice. It's like a khabza, right? Khabza. Right. So, going to that, we wouldn't have a culture without that. That's the foundation of it, and that's what you have to learn in order to practice your culture. And so I want to understand that to the fullest and be able to pass that down. And whatever my children to choose with it, if they choose to identify as it or not, I've done my job. Right. Right. And that goes for religion above anything, for me, to be honest with you.
Right. For a lot of people.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we can't see into the future and know, like, what our children decide to do with whatever we've given them.
Yeah.
We just set them up in the most loving, best way that we possibly can, and just feel like, all right, whatever happens. My grandparents couldn't have imagined the world that we're living in today. Forget my great-grandparents, and so it's like you can't begin to look in that way, but yeah, I love seeing and it comes even from the Caucasus, this like very beautiful fusion of modernity and ancient elements, and I don't know, they have such a way of doing it. It's so beautiful when it's done thoughtfully, and I'm like, if the future looks like that, that's fine with me. It's so nice, yes. So let's go to the next one. What is a characteristic that describes your culture as a whole?
For me, I believe that is discipline. Okay. I think that ties down to our khabza 100%, because there's just things that we don't want to. So even when it comes to your dancing, there's discipline in that. You have to be a specific type of way with your movement. Everything is almost perfect, I feel like. I know not everything isn't perfect, but we try to strive to be as perfect or the best as possible. So I take that into like everything, like the way that you live, the way that you are with people, you treat them with respect. Discipline.
Yeah. Beautiful. You've mentioned khabza now a few times. So the elements that you've just touched on, to you, those are probably and correct me if I'm just talking, just correct me if I'm wrong, but the discipline, the respect, I'm gonna say maybe for you also like an honor, like to carry yourself honorably. These are to you like the top tenets of Adiga Khabza?
I believe so, yeah.
Me too.
Like no one is perfect, don't get me wrong with that, but we try to strive, even in Islam, that's what we're never going to be perfect, but we have to be the best that we can be. We try the best, and if we don't, we make our mistake, astaghfirullah, and you try again. Yeah. So I always feel like it's always just striving to be the best that you can be. Yeah.
And I think that when you internalize that and you really try to apply it to your life becomes art. Your life becomes a masterpiece. It's not easy. Like sometimes we do get a little hood.
No, yeah, we do. We're human. I
Yeah.
can vouch for that.
Hold my hijab pin, right?
Oh
But
my
like,
God.
but like at the same time, like you said, you know, you come to your senses and you're
Census
like,
and
okay,
yeah,
carry on.
yes,
.com.
exactly.
Beautiful. In your mind, what has changed the culture in the past decades, which turned out to be positive?
I think again, this goes back to Khabsa, right? So as
Right.
this is, um, there were practices back then. I don't know if I understood this correctly, but this is how I took it.
Okay.
That there were practices back then that stayed behind, such as, I know, like if the father entered the room or when they were eating, that he wasn't supposed to be seated. He couldn't be seated at the table.
Oh.
That he had to get up. Have you
Oh,
heard this one?
not that one, no.
Okay, so that's what I felt like. I've heard a couple of like stories where there's a lot of like emotion, no emotion, emotional
Right,
attachments, right?
right.
Which I'm not saying that they didn't love their kids, but you know, I guess that's just the way that they were. They were very like kind of, I don't know, cold, and I feel like they were cold maybe because they were in war or the way that they were living during that time, that they had to be that way.
Right.
But we left those in the past, the ideologies, and we've kept a lot of good things, and we continue on practicing these things.
Right.
Yeah.
My understanding is like the, because I've heard this too, like the dynamic between, you know, your nuclear family,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you described it as a little cold, definitely to us today,
Mm-hmm.
and even to like parenting science, you know, parenting, just education in general, you know, would be cold. But
Yeah.
you also said why, which is, you know, between the raids that were always happening and then like the 100-Year War and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people couldn't be super attached to their family. They wouldn't survive
Yeah.
losing each
Mm-hmm.
other, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of like foster families. So they would give their, I think, if, I don't know if it was their daughters too, but I know for sure the
Mm-hmm.
sons would be given to another family. They would raise the son so that the, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, people need to be attached to
Mm-hmm.
someone, but the mother and the father themselves were like a very formal relationship, which
Yeah.
I do think a lot of people have loosened the grip on
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
to some degree.
Yeah.
But then again, there are some families that are still very formal with
They
their
are,
parents,
yeah,
you
but
know?
maybe not to the extent of like what really would happen over, like, you know, the many years ago.
Right.
But yeah, yeah, you know what? And speaking about this too, I kind of wanted to do like, if we could one day have all the Circassians maybe in the area just meet up and talk about something like this, with even when it comes to like with their families, not the personal issues, but like just like that sense of, I feel like the emotion, it's been passed down, like to be not really emotional so much, you know. And I wonder if other Circassian or people of the Caucasus, you know, have experienced this.
Yeah, sort of like an emotional distance, you
Yeah.
know. For, I mean, I can speak to myself. There were definitely walls, you know,
Mm-hmm.
between
Mm-hmm.
like children and grown-ups. There were
Mm-hmm.
walls, you know, after having children, and maybe you can attest to this,
Mm-hmm.
you just, for me, I reevaluated like everything. Like I held Idris in my hands and I was like, there will be no walls between me and this baby, you know?
Yeah.
So definitely
Yeah.
trying something different over here. How it turns out, you can meet me in like 20 years and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You know, but for me, I took the route of just like learning about baby brains, you know, human
Mm-hmm.
attachment. You know, as you know, we talked about this briefly, you know, we're a homeschooling family. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, my dynamic with my children is incredibly important if I'm going to be teaching them
Yeah.
anything. Whether we're adding or I'm teaching them about culture and kabza and religion, I mean, it doesn't really matter. The connection is extremely important.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very insightful. Thank you. Um, what are the cultural values that you have exposed to your children, expose your children to like immediately and often? Something that they just know is something Circassians do.
The music and the dancing.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they've been. My daughter's 3 years old and
Aw.
already asks for Circassian music. So
Aw,
it's yeah, that's
so cute.
definitely that. Yeah.
How cute.
Yeah.
Oh, man, so they're tiny, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, little
hmm
ones. Oh my God,
She's
you have to
3 years
pack.
old, and my son is a little over a
Oh
year.
my God,
hmm
mashallah.
Yeah, they're
Congratulations.
little babies.
Oh,
But time's flying,
yeah,
really. It's
yeah.
crazy.
What's something about you, sorry, typo in my thing, about your identity that surprises people who are getting to know you, if this happens at all?
That I'm Circassian.
Mm,
Like I think, like, they don't have no idea what that is, and that's really the only one. That's the only surprise to them. It's like, where is it? Where's Circassian? And
mm,
then, explaining to them where that is.
right.
hmm
Um, is it like they've never heard of it, probably?
Yeah, no, they haven't. I feel like everyone just considers that hasn't heard of Shudkas
Mm,
or Circassian or is they just consider it Russia.
right.
There's no other, it's Russia.
And you
Yeah.
have to always say like, oh
hmm
no, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the only way that I found myself when I tell people like to explain the area, well, I'll say Chechnya
Mm,
or
mm-hmm.
because the war, like they've also had recent wars, so people have heard of that. Or I'll say Georgia because it's just so
Yeah.
common near that area.
Right. Yeah. The Chechnya I have, that's my go-to.
Yeah.
It's like have you heard of Chechnya? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Um, it's
We're the
thank you.
cousins of them.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
I always say.
I'm
We're the
always
cousins
like,
of them.
I make a little prayer for Chechnya. I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you, Chechnya, for
hmm
existing.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. The saying, okay, when in
hmm
Rome, do as the Romans do. Do you think that that's good advice? Why or why not? And have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you had to do as the Romans?
So I feel like with that question, whoever was displaced out of the Caucasus really had to do when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Right.
Because even if you had your own community within that country, you still had to adapt to that country. So you had to do as the Romans do.
Right.
But for me, I see this in two different ways. I'm a person who can see things as two different, like, I can look at it in two different perspectives rather than just one way or the other. And so I feel like when in Rome, do as the Romans do. If you want to preserve your culture, no, you should not, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Yeah. In like personal settings, like business settings or different social circles, do you ever feel like you're the next question? So this goes with the next question about code switching between cultures based on your settings. So do you ever feel like you have to wear a different hat depending on who you're around or the setting that you're in? And how does that like feel for you? Is that like something, I feel like we all do it, but it's just like the awareness of knowing whether or not you're doing it is the key here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that really is, because like for this, it's like not really, but yeah, because like I can still hold my own ground and be who I am and not have to, but at the same time, it's like, I feel like that's also like a human nature to kind of like get, not like speak as they do, or just to like kind of have that connection.
Right.
Like I remember my father, Allah yarhamu too, like when he would talk, he would speak English normally, but if he was dealing with someone who didn't speak English normally, he would talk to them in the way that they spoke,
Oh,
just to make them feel comfortable.
right.
If it was like, just to break down the English. And so I feel like even though that's just something off, but like, yeah, you know, you kind of do when you're in a situation to make the people around you feel comfortable. You kind of want to have some sort of similarity, but still hold your own ground of who you are and represent who you are.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah, I think that's going back again, knowing who you are, right? So if you know who you are, you know, you can do that. You can be with the Romans, you can be with the French, you can be with whoever, and you're still comfortable being yourself.
Like how can you survive? If they didn't take us in, for example, right? Like in Syria and in Turkey, you know, what would have happened?
Yeah.
You know, we have to be able to work with one another.
Right.
And still, doesn't mean you lose your identity. You preserve your culture, and you're able to still let the others that don't know about you what your culture is.
Right. I've done a lot of reading in the last couple years, so I haven't read every book yet, but I've read books that I've been meaning to read like for decades, and I'm finally reading them. And a lot of times, our ancestors had to play two very different roles, so they would have to be, you know, among themselves where they felt safe. They would be the Circassian version of themselves. This is when they were still extremely connected to their customs, their, you know, even their their version of religion and on all of that. And then when they would be presenting in front of like non-Circassian people, they would have to show like, oh no, we're like you. And it would be like a safety thing.
So a form of survival.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think to some degree, people who have to code switch, you know, I'm not saying just ethnic Caucasians or, you know, the Circassian community in America or whatever, but there are a lot of other ethnic groups that code switch. For people who are not familiar with this term, you know, the African American community, the Black community jokes about this a lot, you know, that they have like a professional voice and then they have just like who they are when they're with their family or cousins or whatever. So
that's actually a good characteristic to have, to be able to do that, you know. And again, it doesn't mean you're not true to who you are or authentic. You're just, you know, dealing with whatever you're dealing with in that moment.
Right. Right. Okay, so do you have a memory of being engaged in a cultural setting where you remember feeling so deeply happy in that moment?
I'd have to go back to Jordan, really.
Okay.
I mean, I know here in New Jersey, we do have our Adiga Day, and that's a beautiful memory, and I've attended those. But when it comes down to like a true fond memory, it was just so beautiful. There were so many people, and we'd take trips to Jadash. We'd go like to just so many to parks and stuff as a trip and on a bus together. And it's just everyone singing and they're playing the pshina, and it's just so it's so nice. Yeah. So yeah, that was really a great memory of mine, to be in Jordan and to understand our culture that way too.
How old were you when you were there?
I was 16 years old, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it was
young.
Like back in 2004.
Oh.
Yeah, I was young, yeah, but it was a great experience.
Yeah. You know, that's beautiful. Yeah. And that's amazing, because it's not like when you went into that experience that you thought, oh, I'm gonna have the best cultural, you know, were just like,
I didn't think of that at all. I'm like, why are we going to Jordan? And then when I went there, it was like, it was great. It was better than to be in Dubai, honestly. It was a lot nicer, and I liked it because we were and then we also reconnected with my father's close family friends. So it was nice to see, you know, connect with them as people who were close to my father when he was a young boy. And, you know, so it's cool. It's really nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so cool. I feel like so many of us are, you know, it sucks, you know, because with the instability in Syria over the last decade, you know, people used to go and come, because both of my parents are from Jolan.
Oh, okay.
They're Jolani. So it was like,
mother's from Jolan.
Okay, so you get
Syria is great too. Syria is amazing, but we just didn't live there. But we visited there many times. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just not having that bit available I know people are now starting to go back to visit and stuff, but for, I mean, a minute, it was just like not available.
Yeah.
And we do lose something, you know, you
Yeah.
lose just that
Mm-hmm.
connection. It's such an important thing to
Mm-hmm.
family members, cousins. I mean, it's such an important thing, especially for diaspora, because
Yeah.
I don't know, do you guys have anybody in the Caucasus that you've connected with that are like,
Family?
yeah,
No,
like last name, cousins, and
no, I haven't, but I know that we have someone from like a second cousin of my dad's, but I haven't. But I really want to connect. I mean, not really. So uh they've migrated from Syria to Kafkas, but like
okay.
not as in they were born and raised there.
Mm,
They recently moved there over the recent years, but
I
I
see.
mean, that's a direct connection, I guess, that way.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
But someone who wasn't actually, you know, has a home there
Right.
and that'd be cool. I'm sure there has to be someone, but it's
Yeah.
a matter of
What you got to do is you
Mhm.
got to find out where people, because there will be people who have your last name there, and then you got to find
I
out.
heard we have a street there,
Oh,
there's a street named after us.
that's
That's what I heard.
cool.
Yeah,
There
so
you go.
but I
Start
don't know how
there.
true that is, So I've heard, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that's 100% accurate. So
You got to go
yeah,
find out, and then you got to let me know.
I know. No, I definitely want to go. I love the mountains, and it's funny because I have a friend. She's Middle Eastern, and she tells me she's like, you love nature so much, and especially like the mountains. She's like,
Yeah.
I wonder if that ties back to your culture because you guys are all up in the mountains and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Tell her it does. 100%. Um,
Yeah.
That's so cool. So yeah, that's the thing. Going into these experiences, these cultural experiences, you never know if
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna walk out with like literally having a core memory forever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I encourage people, even people who get a little shy or nervous, to do that because you just don't know how it will change you.
Yeah.
And hopefully always for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so the next few questions are like my favorite kinds of
Mm-hmm.
questions. And you're so generous, you agreed to like all of them. Okay, so are there any areas of your life experience so far that you feel like you've broken generational trauma?
So generational trauma is something that I'm also learning, and that's through you, honestly.
Oh,
Um, I've never really correlated any of my experiences in life to generational trauma. Like I never looked at it in that type of aspect, I guess. So I feel like learning more about that maybe can open up, a light up inside my head or something and to understand more of like why things happen or why I react to things a certain way or,
right,
you know,
right.
that there's a tie to that.
Yeah. The cool thing is when I started looking and reading about generational trauma, it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of helped give me a context.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what I'm looking for here in general. I'm like, why do these things happen? Why
Mm-hmm.
is like even our community as a whole, why are certain things okay and certain things are not okay? Does that like do Caucasians and Circassians in the Caucasus do these
Mm.
things? Like I'm just kind of wondering. And then generational trauma also ties into like war trauma and relocating and different stressful things that your family may have gone through that you literally just never connected.
Yeah, that's why I never connected them. I always feel like this is me.
Mm,
This is the life that I'm given, and that's it. Like, this
right,
is, you just gotta go with it.
right.
But going back to that, when you said like the community as a whole and stuff, because I've realized that with a lot of things, like we have very similarities, I guess, when something happens, it's either, a certain way of thinking.
Mm,
And I wanted to actually speak about this,
okay.
but not in a way where I want to understand. That's going back to the people of the Caucasus is why I said, to really understand how their way of thinking is without getting, I guess, any type of influence of any other culture, right? So if you were in Syria or Turkey or whatever, how do they think, right? And there was an issue that happened here in New Jersey. This was a few months back when they were talking about, that you're only considered Circassian, technically, is how the wording was. And you can come to the Khasa so long as the father is Circassian.
Right.
So for me, it's just, at first I was mad about it, but then I thought about it. Like, really, who's going to tell me what I am and what my kids are? Like, no one can say that. And I don't think that ties down to any khabza, in my opinion. I don't think that's the way that it should have been went about. And I think that a person who chooses to follow their culture, I understand that we take the father's last name, but what if the father has the last name and doesn't know anything about his culture and doesn't teach his family that?
Right.
So then what happens to the culture? It dies, right? So I don't think it's about male or female. I really think it comes down to the person. If I choose to pass my culture down to my children, then they're going to be adiga. They're going to understand the culture. They're going to follow the way of the culture, and they're going to do the way as the culture. The same way with the father. And I don't understand that, but everyone has their own way of thinking, and I feel like maybe there's some type of trauma in that, as in a group of people think that we're no longer gonna be Circassian anymore. That's it. They're gone. They're especially when the girl does it, the female, because the males, they do get married outside of the culture, and they're still considered adiga. But I don't think that's right to shun the girl from the community.
Right.
That's not khabza. I don't think so at all. Yeah. And I wonder how they do it over there, because I've spoken to only one person about this that was from over there, not a family or anything. And they said, this is unheard of. We've never heard of this. But, they've probably never heard of this too, because there's only adiga wherever, being in there, right? So this is also a big issue too. We have to understand, when we left from there, this is what comes with it. It's called qadr, and it's called fate, and it's something that even if I was surrounded by Circassians all of my life, which I have been, and if it didn't work out with certain people, it didn't work out. That's not the nasib. And I met someone and he wasn't Circassian, and that's what happened. And I ended up marrying because of religion, to be honest with you. And I'm going to be who I am. That's my culture. I'm Adiga. And he is his culture, and he loves his culture, and he loves my culture as the same way I love his culture. And that's what it is.
Right. I think that, like, there are families where the two parents could be of one ethnic group, but neither of them really cares or applies culture in their life. So the children carry the ethnic name, let's say, but there's no essence. It's just, oh my, the light is all over my face. Oh my God.
You've got to glow.
Oh my gosh, it's the car across the street. I'm like, why am I blinded right now? But yeah, so there's just like, it's now a formality that they have this name, but there really is nothing else going on. But
there's nothing else. Yeah, that's not what culture is, because this is what honestly happened to the Italian Americans. Not a lot of them really, they know their culture anymore. They just consider themselves to be American. They'll say that they're Italian. No offense to that at all. There are people who do, whoever, again, it goes back down to the person, I feel. If they choose to understand their culture, they know their culture, they're practicing their culture. You can't say that their child is not of that when, let's say, that's all they know, so it's not correct.
In my me and you, we share the same opinion. So, and there are a lot of people who share this opinion. It's just, it's maybe one of the things that our generation is going to have to grapple with as time moves forward. Because it's very hard to shake generational, you know, ideas and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I really try to exercise, and this is a topic that forces me to challenge my own, like the limits of my compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order for me to continue having this discussion and even thinking on this topic, I have to be extremely compassionate towards people who disagree with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that hard for me, this subject, when it comes up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean, understanding the generational trauma, understanding what our people have been through, trying to give context
Yeah.
to this subject, which, you know, so many people would be like, you know, straight to my face, you know, you're a fool, you don't know what you're talking about, this is a tenet of Adiga Kabza, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are a lot of things in any culture that people don't necessarily have to agree with just because they're from that culture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just
There's nothing wrong with also marrying, like to keep it within, that's fine.
Right.
I'm not saying, you know, oh my God, you can't be that way.
Right.
But for me, when it comes down to like to be Circassian, if we are Circassian, that goes down to generational trauma, I believe, because so many people practice this way of being, and it's like, that's not okay. We shouldn't be like that at all.
Right.
You know, if, I don't know, if we're going to turn our backs like that to someone in the community, I wonder what's going on within the homes. That's not good.
I just, for me, and it comes down to, you know, a person doesn't stop being who they are or where they came from because of who they ended up with. As you use the word nasib, you know, which is hard
Your
to find
fate.
in English, fate, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, for a lot of people that we understand this concept of, you know, it's not, you know, who you marry was like chosen for you. It's not like, you know, you went out of your way or whatever. Like, that's how marriage works. You know, you are partnered up with someone.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, you can be surrounded by Circassians all of your life, and you can, especially in America, you have so many different people, and you can't keep your child home forever or just within only the CBA. And that, even if they were to be on a bus somewhere or they just cross paths, that's just how it's going to happen, you know? And you really can't control that. I mean, and then if you do control it, because I do know some people that have controlled it, I guess, and then they've just never gotten married.
Right.
So,
and then, you know,
I don't know. It's what can you do?
Right. Because you can't say your girls are not going to go to school. They're not going to go to work, because these are where people meet. You know, if your children are free to be in this living in the society where they live, you know, people
and
meet.
Even if you have that Circassian mentality and only want a Circassian for yourself, but I mean, you know, we're humans, and someone can just be a match for you without you even realizing it, and you fall in love without even realizing it.
Right.
To be honest with you, that's just like the way that it.
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you know, you have your internal checklist, you know, but you can't, if you've never gotten married, or even if you've been married and you're remarrying, you know, you can't even like guess, you know, what it is about a person that's going to make you feel like this is my future spouse. Like, I agree to marrying this person. It's not, sometimes it's not what's on your checklist. Sometimes it's
things happen. That's it's beyond culture, beyond practicing your culture or understanding your culture. It's just life.
Yeah. And so to put an X on a person for living and carrying on and moving forward, you know, that is, you know, to me, that's not what community means. To me, you know, that's extremely, extremely conditional, and it's unfair. You know, you either love the women in your community or you don't. And we're not, you know, like when you get to the age where you're like married and you've had children, you've had enough now life experience where you know what conditional love is, what conditional acceptance is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And as a mother, I love my children unconditionally. I know what that is,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
It's
So
just sad because I love our culture, and you know, I just don't want us to be treating each other this way,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And I think coming down to that being like maybe the last point, that we've already gone through so much
Mm-hmm.
as a people.
Why are we adding more?
We don't need to be inflicting harm. And for some people, they might say, you know, well, you chose this, you knew this was going to happen. No,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the unchangeable thing. You can still show human compassion and kindness toward people.
And you
You don't
chose,
have to be.
this is very silly to say because
Yeah.
you chose this and it could be a great marriage, and guess what, and then it could end up
Right.
being not a great marriage towards whatever, you know. And it's not like I would have chose that for myself, whether it was with a Circassian or not with a Circassian, you know. So to keep saying, oh well, you chose this, if we talk about this with everything in life, like you chose that, it's not just about marriage. It's about a lot of things that you can choose in life. What, I don't, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. It doesn't.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I know this is a very sensitive topic. Thank you for, you know, mentioning it, bringing it up. I appreciate it. I agree with you. It's just something that, you know, being able to have respectful conversations about it from
Mm-hmm.
both sides, I feel like is really
100%.
important. I was sharing with someone that I know that argument better than I know my own. You know,
100%. And I can
right?
understand that argument because I understand the fear of like losing, but we got to figure out a way to do better,
Yeah,
honestly, in the way that we go about it.
right.
I don't think,
Yeah, and I think just my life experience and then what I saw when I lived in Turkey for that year and a half during COVID, during the pandemic, that really helped me, you know, open my mind a little bit in that regard, because, you know, we are all human beings just trying to get through life. And at the end of the day, in my very, very, very humble opinion, people are going to live according to what is written for their life, right? As you mentioned, nasib and qadar and all of that. Who am I to punish somebody for living? You know, like who am I? I'm not an authority, and we do not have any authority over each other's lives, especially in the West. Please, you know.
And I'm sorry, but especially after traveling to America, like,
right.
you know, I know it's for, wallah, I'm not taking this away. Our parents did so much for us. And to come and travel here, it was very hard and difficult. But that also comes with it. And we can't be that harsh, you know, and that way of thinking, if we're going to come here and we understand there's going to be good, but there's going to also be this that could happen, you know?
Well, and it can happen. I mean, it happens
anywhere in the world.
In Jordan,
but most, like, I mean, you know, you're coming to America too. Like, if there, there's way more of a chance because there's so many diverse, different people here compared to. True. Yeah, it happens in Jordan. It happens anywhere. Yeah, even in Caucasian, you can be there and say you want to be with someone from there, and your Prince Charming can come from Italy somewhere on vacation, and you guys cross paths. I'm telling you, I just believe life is like that. So I can't. Like, that's not going to determine my culture and who I am, you know? Right. So I just find it to be a little silly, to be honest with you, and with all due respect, but again, I can understand both ways of thinking, so. Right.
Well, thank you
I'm not bashing anyone for that, but just the hate, it's just the hate about it. It just causes animosity and it divides people up rather than bringing us together, you know? Right. So.
And as time goes on, and I think especially for people who are, you know, we've left the Caucasus, we have no connection to the Caucasus, we left our little villages and communities in the Middle East, and we're grown, our children, you know, and our grandchildren are probably not going to have connections over there. So we're really settling in the States here.
No, this is true.
And we really just have to formulate, you know, according to what is going on here. Like the community in Turkey and Istanbul and Ankara and Antalya and Kayseri, they're not thinking about what goes on in America.
Here.
They're thinking about what's happening here, what's happening with our community here.
Exactly. That's so true. 100%. And we need to build a strong community here.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, what's even when it comes to like how you said you know, we're going to be settling here, there's not really, we'll always have a connection to going back to Syria or Jordan or Turkey or wherever it be. But I feel like now things can shift dramatically where people will actually start purchasing homes out in Kafkas. Like, it's possible for this generation.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'd love to buy a piece of like land there or a condo or something over there, and to, you know, have them thrive as well as connecting to my roots.
Yeah, that would be actually, that's such a good point. That's such a good point.
So now we'll actually have a direct connection there rather than the in between. Yeah. And all due respect, you know, those countries have taken us in, but now it's like a direct source.
Yeah. And it's important. I feel like it's important. We're at a point where we can consider it, you know.
And it revives the culture again, and it brings us, you know, a direct connection to who we are rather than losing who we are. Because I know we always hear it's the language, the language, the language. If you don't know the language, how is that your culture? So you'll have a direct connection right to there.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you, Nada. Let's go to the next question. And this one is about ancestral wisdom. So where in your life have you felt yourself stronger with ancestral wisdom? And that I like to leave that open to people, because ancestral wisdom could be advice you've gotten from your mom, or just, you know, something that maybe is deep down inside of you that you just know is true, and you've really like internalized it and, you know, used it in your life, and it's carried you forward.
I really feel like it ties back down to having discipline. Really. You know, the ancestral wisdom, I think the way that I perceived our ancestors to be is everything was done with honor and dignity and respect to the fullest. And I feel like that's been passed down through my mother, and that's been passed down through my father, and that's something I want to pass down to my children.
Beautiful. So discipline. Wow. I mean, you've mentioned this word. It's my husband loves this word too. He's always talking about discipline and coordinating and like having a plan, and really just making sure that you're constantly reviewing your life and seeing your progress and how you're moving forward.
So it's funny because I don't really have a plan, the type of way that I work. I don't. So I have the discipline, but I really truly believe that I can't have a plan. You can only think as so far, but really everything is just, so long as you put in the hard work and you do what you can, it's just going to happen whatever way God wills it to happen. So I don't like to really think that far, but there's nothing wrong with that either. But I just don't think that way.
Okay.
I don't think that way, really.
Well, I like that. I mean, that's why I love talking to people.
That's why the business actually came about, because I didn't have a plan for it. And I believe my business, the foundation is God and discipline with Maza Boutique. Like, that's how it always has been from the beginning, because Allah created me to have a creative mind. Alhamdulillah, that's how, you know, every person is made differently. And so I believe that by him giving me that gift and believing and trusting in him and having that discipline, when even on the nights I worked so many days and nights, like, it's crazy over just chokers. I think about it, but look what happened, you know?
I know.
So it's because of putting my trust in God and having discipline, it's done a lot of things for my life, not just in business, just me in general.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. For some reason, the comment section today is not like moving. So I just quickly like zipped through like what people were saying. Are you able to see what people are saying?
You know, I only see, oh, you know what? It didn't zip through either for me.
How
I
funny.
just noticed this now.
So there's a
It was
lot
all the way at the top.
there's a lot of comments. Wow, thank you guys so much for your interaction here. Some familiar names, some familiar comments. You know,
Yeah.
great, wow, great comments. I appreciate it so much. Whenever we have, you know,
Can I make a remark on this really quick? The
Sure.
Almighty Allah says in Surah Az-Zumar, is there not in hell an abode for the proud? No, you see, that's the thing. I just want to clarify this because not at all am I proud. I'm trying to be an example for the people that have a dream or an aspiration. I'm trying to motivate that person, you know, to don't be afraid, go ahead and do it, you know. And that's why I said from before, please message me, even if I've never spoken to you before, message me and I'll be more than happy to help you get, you know, whatever it is that you feel like you can benefit from me in any type of way. Not at all. I mean, I definitely I don't see myself as perfect at all. I have so many things in me I need to correct. But yeah, I don't want anyone to take that as being a proud person. Not at all.
I hope that's not what she meant. Yeah, it's hard sometimes because we didn't see when she put the comment. Yeah. Hopefully that her intention was,
you know,
in something to agree with you. But no, I wouldn't get that from you at all, Neda.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that that's,
like,
you know,
even
clear.
like a hair of arrogance, I think, or pride on your head. It seems like you're just a very down to earth, grateful, humble. Yeah, see, she said not you, hun. Read the comment above. So it seems like it wasn't towards you in that way.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure, you know, because I don't want to come off as being like, oh my God, these girls over here.
That's not possible, I think, in any realm. No, you're it's very sweet. So she's saying, I'm talking about people who don't follow. Sorry. Who are not Circassian. I had a feeling. No, you're fine. Okay. No, you're fine. No, there's nothing, guys. I mean,
I didn't want to come across as being some snobby girl right now. Oh my God.
Literally impossible. So yeah, and just there's that fine line. I think she was referring to the fine line of pride, when we are proud to be who we are, but we are also looking down on others.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So I think in that, if I just like quickly try to condense everything,
I think that comes across, I think, as a misconception, or I don't know if it's a misconception, honestly, because I've had my friends who are also from not from the community, they get that vibe that we look down.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. Do you know why, or have any type of?
It's honestly, it's you know, Circassians, like the way you were describing how people are, when they meet you, they're shocked. Oh, Circassian, what is that? So this happens, it was happening to me in two ways in my life. So I got to experience it in two flavors. So it was like in regards to hijab, because in a lot of the time I would be like someone's first mahajba friend ever, like college, work. They've never sat with a covered woman. So I'm representing that, and then at the same time I'm representing a Circassian, you know, community who not only have they never met, they will never meet another one. You know, I'm it. You know, so I think in our community we have
pride,
a shared experience of these micro interactions with people who are not from our background. And for some of us, like, I'm not, guys, this is not me being you know, condescending, but I think just human nature, okay? You can't expect every person in the community to know how to handle that. So just from like a very like zoomed out, not everybody is going to know how to handle being the lone representative of their community, you know? So some people mess up.
Yeah.
Some
We're
people,
human. We're
you
human.
know, and you know, has every interaction I've ever had been perfect? No. So, you know, there could be people walking around that are like, oh yeah, I met a Circassian girl once. She was like,
Yeah.
whatever. You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could rub people the wrong way
Yeah.
just because you've had a bad day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
That's
there's
true.
that. That's me giving the benefit of the doubt
Mm-hmm.
always first, and then there's just, you know, what have, you know, what do people say? You know, oh no, we don't marry out. You know, what are you choosing to talk about
Yeah.
with these people? You know, like, I don't know. I really have always loved diversity. Because I always felt like the small guy. I'm the only Circassian in my classroom. I'm the only Circassian
Mm-hmm.
in my work. You know, I'm always looking for the only other person. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've always been very aware of that. I never had like, I'm part of the majority of people. I have light skin, but that doesn't make me part of the majority of people. That makes me a minority with an advantage,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, when people you know, they walk around, you have your political views, you have your cultural views and all this stuff, you know, you really are representing your community, and that's not a secret. So, you know, for
Yeah,
some
that's
people
true.
to have like, maybe you rubbed someone the wrong way, maybe there have been a few occasions this person has met Circassian people, it's not working, you know, that's,
Yeah.
I think, to be expected. Um, but there's a lot of good in our community. We're a really awesome group of people.
100%. That's why we need to all come together and
Support
join
each other,
forces. Yeah,
right?
support each other.
Support each
Mm-hmm.
other. Okay, so next question, and we're almost done here. Do you have any hopes for the future of the community you're a part of, or the Caucasus in general, depending on, you know, where you're at?
I definitely do. Which
This
which number was this one, by
was
the way?
19.
Yes. Just want to make sure I wrote a little couple notes here and there just to make
Yeah.
sure that I took. So I definitely do see a bright future. And this is actually going to tie into the next question, or the number 21, but I definitely do see a bright future.
Okay. So then let's go to 21 about what the saying, what do you, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams come true. It's the question for people watching is, you know, what does that mean to you? What innate impulse or personality trait do you have that you think would make your ancestors proud? And what part of your life do you think their prayers for the future have been answered in you?
So when you asked, question number 19, seeing a bright future, and how it tied into this question is their wildest dreams come true to our ancestors. And I definitely don't think they would have ever imagined that the Sharkas be publicized on Vogue Arabia,
Right.
the Sharkas of Jordan, right?
Right.
Or that we just had the Kafkas dance group here in New Jersey. They were on the edge, the highest observation in the Western Hemisphere, right?
Right.
So that's
Right.
insane to think, like, back then, would this have ever occurred? I don't think never in their wildest dreams would they have ever thought this. And that we're literally putting us on the map. Like, I feel like, I know we've existed from before, but this power of social media is crazy. People that have no idea about Shedkes or the Caucasus, everyone knows who we are. So would they have ever thought in a million years that anyone would know about us or that we existed? I don't think they would have.
Right. And I think it's only going to get more. I think because there are so many people who are utilizing social media, creating amazing content, informational content, in order to just kind of like
getting the word
you know,
out.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
getting the word out, getting people to just, familiarize themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And every single person has like an angle,
Yeah.
my angle is this Caucasus
Mm-hmm.
thing. Another person is like old pictures. Another,
Mm-hmm.
so many pages on the dancing. I
Yeah.
love to see when a really unique dance clip goes viral
Oh yeah,
and
like
people,
TikTok. I started seeing that on TikTok, and I was like, wait, hold up, this is Shudcast dancing. How is this
yeah,
getting? How is this so viral right now? But and
yeah,
I've been seeing it go crazy, especially over the past few months.
right.
It's just
It's so cool, It's
and
so
seeing people's
cool.
comments too, like, what is this? Where, what are they doing? You know, it's
I've seen like Georgian dancing
yeah.
viral videos, and
Mm-hmm.
there's the video of the guy who's not wearing any shoes, but he's just like his feet are going, going,
Yeah.
going, and then
Uh-huh.
they'll put the caption like trying to put my shoes on my toddler. They've seen our videos and they're like, oh my God, just like they take it and they just take it, and that's the internet, It's funny, but yeah, we need like as much viral posts as possible. But
Yeah.
one of our, I think I agree with you, Art. One of our ultimate viral moments was, being in Vogue Arabia. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
Mm-hmm.
um, such just reaching such a huge audience is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think culture, this is question 20, do you think culture could play a part in coping with anxiety, grief, sadness, or depression?
Yes, when you have a community.
Mm,
I believe, when you have a community, we're all connected as one. We understand each other. Our backgrounds are the same, and we can relate to one another.
mm,
So I feel like when you have a strong community, definitely.
definitely. There's an author, her name is Bell Hooks.
Mm-hmm.
She's Black, and I believe she's passed away. And she has this quote, and I adore her writing because she's so community focused.
Mm-hmm.
She's just brilliant, like I'm just grateful she wrote her thoughts down. But she basically, to summarize one of my favorite quotes of hers is that, we live in a society that has put like romantic love as like the top most important like relationships that we'll ever have,
Mm-hmm.
when it always was and should always be like community love, you
Mm-hmm.
know, especially people like us who come from an extremely collective society where our community, like all indigenous people have this,
Mm-hmm.
where like your village is your heartbeat, you know
Mm-hmm.
how is your village doing, they are your lifeline. And being in America where nobody really depends on each other unless you're in like a really unfortunate situation, a family member has passed away, maybe your house burned down,
Mm-hmm.
something like just like a very unfortunate.
Yeah.
um, on a day-to-day basis, we don't really need each other like our ancestors needed each other. But the
Mm-hmm.
community love, I believe, deeply, deeply believe we still need, because we still have it inside of us. Like, we know that we can't do this culture thing alone, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah, you
Like,
really can't.
and then having just like really small cliques,
Mm-hmm.
it works, but it gets boring,
Mm-hmm.
It's not the
Mm-hmm.
same.
Mm-hmm.
So just like a community understanding, and maybe that's, something that is, it's human beings are a work in progress. Like, you're never just
Mm-hmm.
gonna wake up and the community is like Care Bears
Yeah.
everywhere, like holding
And then
hands and
I
dancing.
still think that, like, what even like with the way things are, like, let's say, because right now I'm in New Jersey and there's the CBA, right? I mean, things always will end up changing. It's not, it is what it is forever.
Right.
Things always do end up changing and things happen. I just want to see a community that's there for each other, and we have a good representation in front of the rest of the people who are
Right.
not Circassian. They look at us in a positive way.
Right.
Because to be honest with you, like, not trying to bash, I like people from the outside think that we are
Mm.
racists,
Mm.
unfortunately,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah. had that experience personally. You mentioned it.
I've had it, and not even when it comes down to like marriage or anything, but just the way that we're perceived to be, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I have that experience too.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes I think I want to send thank you cards to all like the players of my childhood and my coming up, because they helped me shape my opinion on being anti-racist. It's it's not good for your skin, guys.
It's really not,
It's
yeah.
not good for your skin.
It's not. I mean, and again, like going back to understanding that, you try so hard to preserve and hold on to the culture. You don't want to let that go. But this has nothing to do with marriage, just in
Right.
general, just to
In
hold on to your
general, right.
culture. Yeah.
Right.
And so they went through so much devastation too, to think like I'm talking about our ancestors, what they went through was not easy at all. But
But carrying that like xenophobic mentality or
yeah.
a level of like I'm better,
Mm.
it's not like they wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
They lived in the Caucasus, an extremely diverse region.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
They understood that.
Different, and
They
it's not the same as being a Diga. Because like if you're
Right.
Chechnyan, you're Chechnyan.
Right.
You're not Cherkess. We're
Right.
similar, but we're still different. There's
Right.
still some differences.
And
Yeah.
between the two, it wasn't like perfect, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that means.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
were
Mm-hmm.
always
Yeah.
going to be issues,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a level of like, there is just certain
Understanding
lows. You
and
don't go to
respect.
certain lows. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if I'm going to be a Circassian, truly, I'm going to try to really connect with who I am. I'm going to let go of that stuff. I'm not in survival mode in that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can leave my house and be me. Thank God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to be better than anybody else. I'm not. I'm not better than any of my neighbors. I'm not better than anyone at the masjid. I'm not better than anyone in my class. I'm just me and they're them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the world we live in, So
it's funny that we're over time. I'm so sorry
it's
about
okay.
this. But this is something that thinking about like being racist and stuff, even though it's making me reflect back on life, even though that, Jordan was such a great experience. Coming back here, my outsider friends thought I was such a racist because of the way that my mentality has shifted, just because, not because they're racist, but because I was so involved in my community and practicing like the culture so much that they thought my way of thinking was just too like in the box.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Like exclusive.
Yeah.
Like very exclusive.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to be racist. So maybe I think this is why some people from the outside get that perspective of like, maybe of us being racist, but it's like just holding on, and we're really not much of like our communities are not our community are being a Diga, it's dying out, they're saying, because we don't speak the language anymore, we're not practicing it. So I think that's what gives off that idea of being racist, is because you're within such a close-knit community so much, and you're just that way that they think that you can't see any other way.
Right. So interesting. So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I had something I was going to say and I forgot, but hopefully it will come back to me. But yeah, that's a really interesting experience.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that as time went on, it maybe leveled out. Being in a different environment, you just kind of absorb whatever's going on around you, and you kind of level out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is like when a person is working on like their self-awareness or whatever, you can look at your belief systems and you can address them. I don't want to use the word intelligently, maybe like with just kind of neutrality. You can be kind of neutral, like, okay, so I have this belief. I have something that people have told me about myself. You know, is it true? Where did this come from? And that's the generational part. So not everything that we've inherited, you know, or not everything about who we are today is our own thoughts, you know? So to be like, you know, oh, a certain group of people, to have basically like a stereotype of a group of people, you know, is that your stereotype, or did you hear that somewhere and you just internalized it and now you say it, for example? It's hard. It's hard to like hold yourself accountable for, you know, the way that you view other people, especially when maybe on a subconscious level, you think like, again, you're invisible. So this is a way for you to feel like, you know, I'm not invisible. Like it's like a compensating sort of thing. But yeah, there's a lot
I feel
of
bad.
work.
I really feel bad for us being displaced because it's not easy at all.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's difficult. It was difficult for them having to suffer all of that, you know, the war and the killing, all of that was just crazy. And then having to be displaced and then start your whole life over and then grow up in a foreign country. But, you know, everything happens for a reason. And they also left for religion. A majority of them left because of freedom of their religion. Whether they were Muslim or they were Christian, they left for a religion. And we have to also understand that religion teaches us, you know, to be kind to others and that to see other cultures. You could still be who you are, but learn about your neighbor, learn about who they are, you know, and understand them. If you don't and you only stay to yourself, then what good have you done to the rest of the world? Really, you know? So, and I pray that one day we do end up becoming like the people in Jordan, even though, you know, they are, you know, within each other and you can kind of get lost in it. But like the way that they hold their ground with the CB, their Jam'iyya, their Nadi Jil, and technically the Nadi Jil, really. I used to go to Nadi Al Ahli as well, but we'll speak about Nadi Jil. And just like how they have a great foundation and they're still a community within each other and they're able to do things, I really want that for our future, you know?
I do too.
I hope so.
I do too. It's the ultimate hope, you know, that we can support each other's successes, support each other in our worst times, you know, have the standard be like, you know, you're not going to be gossiping about someone's problems, you know.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's just a human nature too when it
Yeah.
comes down to gossiping, you know. I think that's just, and then we're a small community, so it's just easier, you know, you hear everyone's
the
business.
news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's just, you know, malicious sort of.
I just truly just want to just understand my culture. I want to learn the language. I want to pass it down, and I want my kids to be able to know who they are. That's really what it comes down to. We shouldn't be that hard, because when you make it hard, everything becomes so complicated. It's so basic, really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, people have a similar goal. You align yourself on your goal and you try to make that goal happen. So really is that. Let's go. This is the last question. And it's kind of towards, I think, you know, people who are just entering that cultural scene, you know, if you could think back to yourself at a certain age. You know, this question would have been great for me. You know, I think a lot of these questions are things that I want. I wish I could have had people talk to me about when I was like a teenager or even younger. Okay, this question is, do you ever get social anxiety before entering a cultural setting? Have you ever explored why this happens to you, if it happens to you, of course, and then what do you do to manage it? This information could help someone else with the same issue that keeps them from entering cultural settings. So I have the intimate experience of knowing people who do not go into cultural spaces because they're nervous, they're afraid, they're anxious about like messing up, being like judged, maybe a little bullying, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think that happens anywhere too, like just as it goes with social speaking in a college class, you know, it comes down to the person. Yeah, I do get nervous. That's just because I don't know really how to dance that well. I've been in the, I know how to dance, but I just don't know how, I'm not perfected at my dancing. I want to be really good, a really good dancer. So that's the only reason I would get nervous, is because I look silly out there. But you know what? It is what it is. You just have to push yourself in, and then just, you know, the more you keep doing it, the more. That's why I'm also sad about this too, is going back to this, is we need a place. I know we have like little, but we need something that identifies us to the rest of the world, like for real, seriously, professionally, you know. And so but yeah, it's, I need to perfect my dancing.
You're so
long as my dancing is good, then you're good. I think that's what it is. And if it's not, the next time around, you'll do better. You know? And then the next time around. And the more you keep doing it, the more it becomes something easy for you. It's just, I think the idea of, especially because our jug is like so big. And we have all these eyes watching, and then you have the cameras, so it can get nervous, but. And
now you have the internet.
Now you have the internet,
It's like strangers' opinions. And
but it happens, and I don't feel like, you'll laugh for a couple minutes, like a couple seconds, if that, and then you keep it moving. Yeah.
I was thinking about this, and I used to say, because I'm okay at public speaking. I get a little nervous, but I really enjoy it actually, to like, and I used to wonder, like, you know, why. So I was able to be in a few dance performances, dance practice, jug, and it's not like they were easy. Of course, I was anxious every time, but that little bit, that dose, if you think about it, you can apply that to other parts of your life. You know, it's like a muscle. It's like you stretch it, you exercise it, and then you can use that strength later. So if you're like, if you try to have the right mindset, you can go into a cultural setting terrified for some people. And you can say, okay, this is really scary, but I am safe. I'm not going to get hurt. My pride, my ego, maybe a little bit, but I can handle that. And then I can use this later. I can use this professionally. I can use this at home, confidence with my parents, my spouse, my kids, whatever. I can show them that. So I always felt like our people were very confident people in general. I mean, I can maybe on one hand count.
I think 100% sure.
Like,
because it's been passed down to like generation after generation. I feel like we're very confident.
Extremely confident people. Like that's why we're able to build, you know, forward so well. You know, people, I mean, there's so many. I haven't talked to one person yet that was like in a field and wasn't like completely excelling at their craft. It's amazing.
I think again, it goes back to that discipline. I think it's just been passed down, and that we're able to, when we put our head into it, that's it. We do the best. And again, that's what our khabza. We have to do the best. That's what it is. You can't do the bare minimum. You have to be at the best. So, and I think even if it's someone who's not really practicing their culture, it's been instilled in them through their parents. You know? And it's up to us to keep it alive. You know?
So even if you don't know, you know, why you are a certain way, the answer probably is because of your, you know, inherited wisdom, inherited traits, you know, from your ancestors. And every once in a while, I mean, I'm obviously I'm Muslim. I like to make a dua for them. It's even the ones that I don't know their names. I can't even begin on both sides of the family. Like, we have a lot of holes in our family history going back after a certain point. So it's just like, you know, I'm like, thank you. Thank you for all of it. Thank you for, whatever it took to get me to this point, and I'm carrying that forward, hopefully, with my children.
Yeah, you're here for a reason, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Make the best of it. Don't let social anxiety or that nervousness in your stomach, guys,
and don't
get in the way.
Even even if you're not involved in your community, it's never too late.
Right.
Even if, let's say, you were involved and then you stopped being involved, and always come back. The same thing as it applies to religion, right? Like, you do something wrong, you say astaghfirullah, and you continue, right? So that's the same thing with culture. For people who have not been involved in the community, I haven't been involved in the community for many years, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to start now.
Right.
As in, when I say not involved, as in I haven't gone to the CBA in so long, really. And I miss that. I miss these interactions. And the last time I've gone to the Adiga Day was, I think, in 2019, right before COVID.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people.
Yeah. And then this whole thing happened. So it's just like, I don't know, but inshallah, things will change for the better. And, we'll keep it moving forward, and we'll continue to be Circassian, because I think that's important. Male or female, understand where you're from, and take, pride, but be humble as well. Take pride in where you're from, but be humble, and go with it. Really.
Yeah, that's the recipe. I think that's the secret recipe. It's not a secret.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I don't want anyone to be discouraged by this, especially the females. Like, things happen in life, but you are who you are. You're Circassian.
Yeah. And we're getting to a point, I think, in our, especially in New Jersey, right? Where there's been enough generations, we're settled. You can find like-minded or people who have similar experiences. You can create your own, little micro community. Something that I learned recently, I've heard about it, but meal trains, for me, what I missed when I was, I think the most was when I was postpartum, having a community, feeling like I don't have to do everything by myself, So connecting with moms, connecting on okay, so-and-so is pregnant, she's going to have a baby, let's set up a meal train so that she doesn't have to cook for 2 weeks after she had that baby. She's going to have good food, frozen, fresh, whatever. Hook her up, little funds. I know there are baby showers and stuff, but I had a baby shower. It's not everything, It's sometimes just coming over, for me, I also live away from my parents. That's why it's such an asset to have your mom and sisters around and stuff. But I don't think everybody lives that way, that their parents are available. Some parents are sick, some whatever. It's just a case by case.
But basically, and you can't always put it on your parents for everything too.
Right. So, just connecting on that level, for the guys, I have so many ideas and thoughts for, community, just, structures, I know guys our age in their mid-30s, entering their 40s, they're working. Some of them are dads. They don't get to go out as much. It's hard.
Difficult. It's really difficult.
It's hard.
Having 2 little babies, being married, having a business, it's difficult. I even tried to sign up for the class dance, to be honest with you, but I haven't had the chance to even be able to go, because bedtime is there that time, and I would hope I could make it out, but so many times I've missed it, and I'm just ugh. But I know I'm 35 years old, but why not? This is our culture. Dancing that's a part of who we are, And if it's another step to getting closer to who I am, why not? And even, I don't know if I even spoke about this, just really quick. I know we're all done. I don't speak the Adiga, but my mom and dad, they valued the language of the Quran more, to be honest with you, which was the Arabic. So I really plan on, also understanding that as well. And it's important that we understand our dance and we perfect that to as much as we can. And we understand our language and we perfect that as much as we can. And we practice the rest of our, the great foods that we have. I feel like there has to be more than chips with pasta and halibba and
What?
that's amazing, but I want to also see the other stuff too, right?
We don't need anything else. That's all we need.
I'm just like in a point where like I'm 35 and I really want to discover who I am on another level, you know?
You're ready for more.
I'm ready for more.
Ready to graduate. Yeah. I know that feeling. Well, thank you so much, Netta.
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much, dude. I'm so sorry. We went 45 minutes over.
No,
I don't know where the
fine.
time went.
It's good time. It's just having a good conversation. Thank you to everybody who stuck around, who gave us your morning, your Saturday morning. I appreciate all like the views and the comments and the interaction. Thank you so much. I know your mama is watching your kids right now. I appreciate that. Send my thank you to her too.
God. Thank you so much, Nuit. It was a pleasure.
So much. Of
Take
course.
care.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.